Let's even talk about our security agencies, the police especially, because over time or over the years, many Nigerians have always complained about the way they go about their business. Cases of extrajudicial killings, police brutality, and the like. I mean, looking at the police as it is, do you really think we've missed it? I mean, talking about the country as it is, human rights and the way the police is being set up, is being structured, to ensure that Nigerians really enjoy human rights. Is there some kind of a disconnect? What actually is going on, with this problem that many Nigerians feel is going on within the police in terms of protecting their rights and not getting the best out of them?
The military did a lot of damage to our country, sadly. And I think we've got to admit it. And one of the things they did was undermine the Nigerian police force. The police has the biggest population of men and women in arms across the country. And the police used to be able to do a great deal to hold people who commit deviant behavior accountable, people who commit crime. But in doing that, the police investments in police were such that the police could invest in detection, invest in intelligence, and be able to have assets across the country who could locate, isolate, learn about where these people were, and try and take action to isolate them and hold them accountable. But by the time the military left power in 1999, the police was in very serious trouble. They did not have enough personnel. They were grossly underfunded. Their morale had been destroyed. Their communication architecture across the country had been ruined by the military. And so what you had, and of course their training and doctrine capability in terms of the police training colleges and all of that had been destroyed. So you could no longer produce a genuine production line of law enforcement professionals who could protect people across the country. And by the way, the chief of police in Nigeria is not the Inspector General of Police, it's the president. Under the Constitution and under the Police Act, the president has operational control of police. And that, again, I think is one of the things we've got to change. Because the nature of the presidency is such that as great a person as any president may be, the person who does the abusing is not a president. It is the court of the president. It's the people around a president who do the abusing. And quite often, a president doesn't even know until it is too late that a police is being abused in his name. And I do think we need to begin to reform the police quite fundamentally and move it away from this disposition that makes it open to abuse.
Even look at the way the National Human Rights Commission goes about its business in getting information, the kind of information that you receive on a day-to-day basis. How confidential do you get to handle these informations that come to your commission?
Well, you cannot conduct public affairs, every element of public affairs in the public domain. There are some things that naturally have to be dealt with on confidential basis. And every day we get that at the commission from such issues as the basics of complaints in the family sphere. For instance, I think somewhere in the region of about 28 to 32% of the complaints we get are related to the family situation of people. Domestic violence, husbands beating their wives, boyfriends attacking girlfriends, young women scalded with acid by spurned lovers, children whose fathers refuse to pay for maintenance, kids dropped out of school because their fathers have run away. That's about nearly 1/3 of the complaints we get. And some of those things require a confidential disposition. Many others require a similar disposition because they are in the heart of the state security architecture. But at the end of the day, our responsibility is to the law that establishes the commission and to the Nigerian people. And I think we've got to be fair and we've got to be forthright with Nigerians. The important thing is to always apply the rules fairly, firmly, with balance. And as I like to say, the commission is not one of... There are only three things I know the commission is not. One, it is not an opposition party. Two, it is not the Salvation Army. And 3, it is not a public relations department for government. Now, once you eliminate those 3 things, every other thing is in the mix.
All right, now that we've been able to establish that the NHRC, the Human Rights Commission, is indeed here to stay, and do its best to ensure that Nigerians really enjoy human rights. But looking at the country as it is, I mean, in all the 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, would you really say that Nigerians are really, getting to feel that their rights are being protected? I mean, from the standpoint of Nigerians, and both within and outside the country, even international observers, they still say that perhaps we have quite a long way to go. And you would expect that even in a democratic setting, things will improve. We know that in the military era, it was quite awful, but we're still getting knocks on the head, so to speak, even now. What do you think is responsible for this? Or are we really getting there? Can we achieve this?
There are no perfect societies. There are no perfect countries. Every country is struggle, is work in progress. But yes, we can overcome them as Nigerians, and we must always continue to think that we can overcome them. And our leaders have got to continue to reassure us and show us as a people that we can overcome them. I do think we can. And how can we? First of all, public officers have got to take the responsibility of public office seriously. I think that is really not negotiable. And if we can all do our bits, the public officers doing their bit to elevate public office, citizens doing their bit to hold public officers accountable and make demands on them that are sensible, I think our challenges are there to be surmounted.
All right, one last question before I let you go, Professor, and that has to do with the proposed national dialogue, which seems to be on the front burner now. Well, we know that it's going to be happening anytime soon, but from your own standpoint, what's your view about the proposed national dialogue vis-a-vis with the way the Nigerian constitution is? I know there have been several attempts now to get the constitution amended, and I mean, looking at all of it, do you really think it's a good idea? Do we stand to gain anything from this?
I see the idea of a national dialogue as above all else, an invitation and a challenge to the older generation to give the young people a chance to contribute to inventing a different kind of country. A country for themselves, for the younger people, because our average life expectancy is in the late 40s. And so now, in this country, whenever we're looking to do these things, we invite people in their 70s who are really living on beyond borrowed time to come and tell us how to do it. I think the people in the 70s should move over. The people in the 60s should move over and invite their children and grandchildren to tell them what the country should be. And bless those children as they do those things. Give the children the benefit of their wisdom and tell the children to go forward. And may the good Almighty be with them. That is the way elders, proper elders, do these things. And I have problems with 60-year-olds who are leaders of youth wings. And I do think that that kind of thing needs to end.
Right. We thank you so much for spending time with us, Professor Chidi Andikalu. We've really run out of time, but we appreciate you for spending time with us on Question Time. Thank you once again. Now, our guest is under no illusion that the country really needs to achieve its human rights standings for the entire world to see, and he believes that is possible. However, there should be a show of commitment from both the government of the day and, of course, the citizenry to ensure that we do away with those practices that may put the country in bad light and work towards building a nation where genuine human rights reign supreme, provided there's sufficient enlightenment to raise awareness on the subject. And that's how we end this week's edition of the program. Don't forget to send us your questions, comments and suggestions to questiontime@channelstv.com, or you can watch us online also via channelstv.com. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Until next time, it's bye for now.